So the Indiana Fever are currently in one of their, I'm not gonna say last days of training camp, because training camp obviously goes on through the games. It doesn't, by the looks of things, it does not look like they've played too much 5v5, or if they have been playing 5v5, it has not been with any media there, which, to be honest, I think might be a good thing, because if you remember last year, I'm not joking. Like, I look back on my channel because just out of curiosity, I'm like, what videos was I making around training camp last year, just to see like what way I was covering it, and like we were able to see full breakdowns of what Stephanie White wanted to do in the motion offense. I was making entire breakdowns on Stephanie White's defensive philosophy, or Breanna January's defensive philosophy, with what they were doing in training camp, and I'm like, they definitely showed too much footage last year. Like, it is actually scary how you could game plan for the Indiana Fever based off training camp footage. And they show more in the training camp footage than they showed in preseason, which is kind of crazy. That being said, there is a pretty well respected guest currently here at training camp. So if you guys have not seen, it is Cheryl Miller. So let's take a look right here. And we're taking a look here, and Cheryl Miller is currently there with Steph White. And they're currently playing Justin Bieber in the warm-up. On a side note, Justine Passat is huge. Cheryl Miller with Michaela Timpson. Okay. She's obviously been around the team a bit then. Going straight up to Sophie Cunningham before anything. It is hilarious, though, where it's like Twitter people be like, oh, Sophie's like the worst teammate ever. It's like every single teammate that Sophie Cunningham has ever had. And it's funny because it's always like it's never purely just a, like, whatever, like star thing. It's like Brittany Griner, Lexi Hull, Caitlin Clark, heck, Raven Johnson said nothing but good things about Sophie Cunningham. Diana Taurasi. She was basically Diana Taurasi's rookie, which is always still kind of crazy. But we're now looking at what you call it, at Cheryl Miller being there at the training camp, at Fever practice, which is good. Obviously, you're just looking at team shooting, and you would expect. Look, I'm going to be real. You would expect Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, these players, even in this type of setting, to shoot 85, 90%. 90. In an open gym is a little bit different than like going at a little bit more game reps. But that does seem as mostly what they're doing today is just kind of chilling. Like, it is Thursday, they play a game Saturday. So my guess is that like they're probably going to go and have some form of a decent game or a decent practice today, and then just basically use tomorrow as a shoot around effectively. I would say we're going to see about 15 minutes of Caitlin on Saturday. Maybe 20. Probably 15. But yeah, look, it is what it is. And it's a good thing that Cheryl Miller's there. Obviously, when it comes to Cheryl Miller, she was at Wings practice. It's not like Cheryl Miller has just specifically gone to watch Caitlin Clark play. But like, Cheryl Miller is in the camp of she's in the camp of Lisa Leslie. Like, you can see right away here, Cheryl Miller is also here today making her rounds through training camps. They're all going straight up to her. Cheryl Miller at Fever practice. She obviously was there at Wings practice as well. So my guess is that obviously, look, she's in the Lisa Leslie camp of legends, where it's like you'll never see, where there's no agendas. It's like when you've got the Cheryl Swoops of the world doing what Cheryl Swoops does, and you've got the Lisa Leslies of the world basically trying to be a vet to every single young player. And it's like, I remember it was saying, it was like, don't be a Lisa Leslie, don't be a Cheryl Swoops. But yeah, and it's not an ideal day for her USC either, when that other team in California just managed to get, I know they have the number one recruit, but they just got Addie Brown. Not an ideal one. Reggie might be winning the battle the next year as well. But yeah, it's it's genuinely a good thing to see. And it's not just the thing where we saw her at fever practice, but it's a good thing that you're seeing her at wings practice, seeing her at all these teams, because it's very, very clear that as a like legend of the game, I'm gonna be honest. You can tell that like the legends that are like, you know what, we want to be. It's great that these young players have this. Like we didn't have this kind of hype. We didn't have this when we were coming up. We didn't have the ability to make this kind of money. We didn't have these type of eyeballs. And you can see the players that are like, well, it's great now that all the teams have this. And you could also see the former players that are like, I'm not gonna say resentful, but will basically be on the side of like, you know what, we're gonna fight against it. And there's current players as well. It's not even just a former player thing. Like it is, there are players that like there are people and players that will fight with it and fight against it. And it's not as much now because the players are getting paid millions and they can't really say anything because, you know, okay, yeah, what are we gonna do? Okay, so Caitlin Clark's making more money than us coming in straight away in college. Okay, cool. Yeah, these college players making 200K while we're making 1.5 million in salary. We can't really say much right now. But yeah, it is an interesting one, and I'm saying the players are happy. I'd say the players are happy. I'd say all of the like everyone around is happy because again, Cheryl Miller is Cheryl Miller. Like we saw it from the All-Star game. Do you remember the whole thing when everyone thought Cheryl Miller was? They were like trying to convince Cheryl Miller to take over from from Christy Sides. I actually think because Cheryl Miller had to come out and say plenty of times, "Oh yeah, you know, I don't want to coach. I don't want to coach." I'd say there was that. I wouldn't be surprised if there was contact made for that one. And then when it came to Lisa Leslie obviously got passed over for a job. She'd never really coached before. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go for a job again. When I'd say I'm surprised the team didn't offer Lisa Leslie. I'm surprised the team didn't offer Lisa Leslie a job, to be honest, when she looked for it last season, especially if you're Dallas Wings. Maybe they thought they were going to be good and not tanking. But like, if you're tanking, at least make it a feel-good story. At least make it a feel-good story if you're tanking. I think Lisa Leslie would have been a team hiring her in some way. I think maybe she only wanted to be a head coach, but team hiring her in some way would have been good anyway. But yeah, it's a good thing seeing Cheryl Miller at fever practice, and weird one seeing Passat strapped up with her left knee. That's not ideal. Anyway, see you guys.